there without designated reason, kindly get a seat. I can see we have a number of seats. If not the media and the security, wale wengine, the officials under the secretariat, you can now take seats kama tumemaliza kusajili wageni wetu. Ndarejesha kwenye bendi, tuendelee kupata burudani tunapomsubiri mgeni rasmi. Asante.
25, page 26 is all market. Kana wewe ni paparazzi nje. Sasa ni yote. Sawa. Unajua you are very good at misquoting. Yes. Sasa hapo tunatumia muda but jambo la control budget.
tusimame tafadhali, tuweze kumkaribisha Mheshimiwa Daktari William Ruto kwa makofi.
Kujiunga nasi. Let's appreciate His Excellency as he joins us. Nitaomba sote sasa tuwe wima kwa wimbo wa taifa wa Jamhuri ya Kenya na wimbo wa Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki. Wimbo wa taifa. Nitaomba Mheshimiwa Rais tuongoze kwa maombi mafupi. Tumwalika Commissioner Fara na Mheshimiwa Epuyo Nanok Daniel ili waweze kutuongoza kwa maombi mafupi. Mheshimiwa.
Let's pray. We thank Allah for all the bounties, the peace, the health, the sustenance. We thank Allah for all the bounties that He has bestowed on us. And we send blessings and peace to our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ya Allah, we ask you to bless our country, Kenya. You know we are in need of rain at the moment because of the ravaging drought. Oh Allah, you know the economic definition of the people assembled here today is livestock, and the drought has finished the livestock. Oh Allah, we know that our economy is not doing well, and we ask you for your intervention. Our peace and cohesion is not as required. Oh Allah, help us fix the few areas that are wavering. Ya Allah, guide the leadership of this country, the President and his deputy, the cabinet, the leadership of PPG and its membership, the leadership of the judiciary, the leadership of the legislature, and all people of Kenya. Amen.
Let's pray. Our dear loving Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we stand before you with grateful hearts, Lord, for giving us life, for protecting us, for protecting our country, Kenya, for protecting our leaders, our president, who is amidst us here today, this afternoon. We thank you for this gathering and the deliberations that are going to go on here. We ask, Lord, that you will intervene, you will lead us, and that you are going to remind us to be servants of your people who have elected us to these noble tasks for them. We now ask that, Lord, as we begin this meeting, may you be with us up to the end. For we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Kwa ruhusa yako Mheshimiwa Rais, naomba tuketi. Mheshimiwa Daktari William Samoei Ruto, Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya na Amiri Jeshi Mkuu wa Majeshi ya Ulinzi, mawaziri, wajumbe, magavana ambao wako nasi, nikishatambua itifaki na kuziheshimu. Mheshimiwa Rais, nikubalie niwaalike viongozi wachache ambao watazungumza kwa niaba ya viongozi wote ambao wamekuja siku ya leo kushiriki katika kongamano hili. Kwa niaba ya viongozi wa kike, the Women Caucus, nitaomba nimwalike Mheshimiwa Naomi Wako ili atupe ujumbe wake. Karibu Mheshimiwa.
Your Excellency, our President, the CSS who are here, governors who are with us, honorable members, and all protocol observed. It is wonderful to see you all here this beautiful afternoon. I am Mheshimiwa Naomi Wako, Women Representative, Marsabit County, and Deputy Chief Whip, National Assembly, and Chair Lady, PPG Women. As we all know, the Pastoralist Parliamentary Group was formed in 1998. Its purpose is to mainstream the pastoralist agenda within the national political and policy processes. The members of PPG is one to all members elected or nominated from the pastoralist counties to the National Assembly and the Senate, regardless of their ethnicity or political party affiliation. Launched its strategic plan. During that period, we held several meetings on issues that affect drylands, communities, and contribute to the functioning of the PPG. The PPG members' focus was on policy and legislation around peace and security, education, empowerment of the pastoralist women and youth, pastoralism and livestock productivity, equalization fund and affirmative action funds, protecting devolution and strengthening the decentralized governance system, supporting the implementation of the Community Land Act 2016, national drought management and emergency response, and basic public service, public appointment, placements, and physical infrastructure. We were all also privileged to have the first pastoralist women elected to Senate from Isiolo County and elected again for the second time, Senator Fatuma Dulo. In the 12th Parliament, PPG members sponsored 30 important bills focused on improving the lives of pastoralists. The bills seek to improve the institution framework, policy and legislation on peace building, conflict management and cohesion, livestock and affirmative action. Out of 3,893 papers laid in the House, 761 motions were sponsored by members of the PPG. In the 13th Parliament, our focus will be on climate change, resilience, human security, peace building, and promoting community lands rights. As you all know, our counties have been ravaged by the continued drought and affected by insecurity, and our people need to have their lands registered. It is my wish that we will all join hands in supporting our people through legislation and strengthening of the systems in ensuring that they get their wishes. Finally, Your Excellency, as I conclude, I'm calling on all leaders to work together to achieve the priority areas that we have mapped out. Our people are looking to us to represent and legislate bills that will improve their lives. In the words of Rosuke Sotaro, individually, we are one drop. Together, we are an ocean. And in the words of Enoch, teamwork is the secret that makes common people achieve uncommon results. May God bless us. May God bless our country. Thank you so much.
Asante sana mwenyekiti wa kitengo hicho cha kina mama, Mheshimiwa Naomi Wako kutoka bunge letu la kitaifa. Nafasi hii kutoka seneti nitamuomba Mheshimiwa Seneta Fatma Dulo naye azungumze. Karibu.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Karibu sana. I think wewe si mgeni kwa wafugaji. Najua wewe pia ni mfugaji. So kwa hivyo karibu sana. Ya pili, tunakupa pongezi kwa uchaguzi wako. Na sisi pia wale ambaye wamechaguliwa pia nasema pongezi. Jambo la kwanza ningependa kuongea ni ya kwamba sisi PPG tumetembea safari ndefu sana. Na kila wakati tukiwa na induction umekuwa na sisi. Na tumeongea mengi sana. Ya kwanza ningependa kuongea, Your Excellency, ni mambo ya insecurity katika pastoral areas. Mambo ya insecurity imetusumbua sana. 21st century hakuna namna bado sisi tunaendelea kupigana na ili hali serikali wako. Na sisi tunakuomba kama wafugaji, kama tutahakikisha ya kwamba maendeleo kutakuwa, mambo ya kupigana, cattle rustling, na mambo ya wafugaji kupigana kila wakati, tunakuomba kwa wakati huu sasa, ukiwa kiongozi, haya mambo yaishe. Na sisi tutashirikiana na wewe kuhakikisha ya kwamba tumemaliza haya. Ya pili ni mambo ya illegal firearm. Mimi ningekuomba hivi kwa niaba yangu, wafugaji ambaye wako na binduki ambazo si halali, ningeomba ofisi ya serikali iregister illegal firearms. Na kama sivyo, wale ambaye wako na illegal firearms zote zichukuliwe. Hiyo ndo mambo ambaye tunakuomba kama kiongozi wetu utusaidie kuyatimiza. Ya pili, we have a lot of unexploited resources katika pastoral areas. Na hizo unexploited resources tunakuomba ili tuweze kujisaidia sisi kama wafugaji. Kuna miadini, kuna actually gas hata pale Turkana, I think governor ako hapa. Kuna mwingine, hata kama Isiolo kuna minerals ambazo mpaka saizi wafugaji wanajaribu kufuatilia. Tunakuomba ili uangalie haya maneno. Ya tatu, mambo ya maji. All pastoral areas leo ni mvua imenyesha, lakini tuko na shida ya maji. Juzi nilisikia ulitangaza ya kwamba utatutengezea dams 100. Kwa maoni yangu, dams wakati ya ukame haisaidii kwa sababu inakauka. Tungekuomba kama utashirikiana na county government na national government utuchimbie boreholes kwa sababu hizo haziwezi kukauka. Mambo ya madawa ya kulevya kuanza kutoka Ethiopia kupitia Isiolo mpaka hapa Nairobi. Hiyo ni shida kubwa sana ambaye imeathiri watu wetu, imeathiri watoto wetu. Sisi kama wafugaji tuko wengi sana. Tunaweza actually kusupport serikali yako na tunaweza kufanya kazi pamoja. Lakini 21st century bado sisi tunalia ya kwamba we are minority, we are marginalized. Hii nyimbo imezidi sana. Tunakuomba utushikie mkono ya kwamba haya maneno ya minority na marginalized iishe, because county governments wanapata pesa nyingi sana na ukiongezea ile ya national government, mambo ya ufugaji tutakuwa na solution. Irrigations, tuko na shamba nyingi, tuna ardhi nyingi ambaye tunaweza kuconvert kwa irrigation. Na sisi tunakuomba, nakumbuka wakati moja ukiwa waziri wa agriculture na ulisafiri Israel, ulituahidi ya kwamba tutahakikisha sehemu za ukame tutafanya irrigation. Your Excellency, tunakuomba. We have a lot of land. Tukichimbiwa borehole watu wetu wanaweza kujisaidia. Mambo ya harvesting, water harvesting. Mambo ya water harvesting tungesaidika sana because we are not harvesting water. Juzi tulikuwa na waziri wako wa interior Wajia na Isiolo. Maji inateremka kutoka Mount Kenya inatambaa peke yake. Na kama tutaharvest hiyo maji, because pahali kama Wajia tulienda watu walikuwa na shida sana. If we harvest that water, it can help us in irrigation na isaidie jamii ambaye wako katika hiyo sehemu. Maji ya mvua nyingi zinapotea katika sehemu za ukame, tunakuomba utusaidie haya. Your Excellency, drought wakati hii imetupiga sana. Watoto wetu hawaendi shule, mifugo zimeisha, na watu wako na njaa sana. Najua mmesaidia kiasi ambaye mnaweza, lakini kibinadamu huwezi kusaidia mtu leo na kesho. Ukimpatia mtu kilo 2, kilo 3 leo anakula, kesho ataenda wapi? Watoto hawaendi shule. So kwa hivyo Your Excellency, tunakuomba tutasaidiana, hata sisi tufanye yale ambaye tunaweza, lakini sisi kama pastoralists tutashikana tuhakikishe ya kwamba interest ya pastoral communities yameweza kutimizika, na sisi tunakuomba utushikie mkono kama wafugaji vile ambavyo ulitushikia kwa muda mrefu. Siasa nafikiria zimeisha. Na siasa ikiisha ni maendeleo ndio ambaye tunaendesha. Na sisi tuko tayari kwa maendeleo, tuhakikishe ya kwamba watu wetu wamefaidika. Sisi tutajitayarisha, tukijipanga vizuri, tutakaa chini na wewe, tukuelezee ya kwamba hii na kile ndio tunaweza kusaidiana na wewe. Kwa haya machache na mengi nasema asante sana na uwe karibu. Asante.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Seneta. Nitaomba sasa nimwalike Mheshimiwa Daktari Adan Keynan, mjumbe wa Elders, na yazungumze tafadhali.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, CS is present, governors, colleagues, assalamu alaikum. Fikiri bado simekula sana hapa. Your Excellency, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to BBG. I know you are not new. I know you have always had the pastoralist issue at heart, but this unique group which was started in 1998, and I'm sure you are familiar with a bit of the history and the making of BBG, is a group that has brought together residents from a number of counties. And in terms of the landmass, I'm sure you know, 89% of the landmass of the Republic of Kenya. This group represents almost 6% of the population, and they own 70% of the livestock, with a membership of both the Senate and the National Assembly of almost over 100 plus. But I must admit that this is the most disorganized group in the political dispensation of the Republic of Kenya. The most disorganized because if you look at their numbers, their geographical position and everything else, properly organized, this could be a very effective group. Your Excellency, the reasons why we have, if the government develops 89% of the Republic of Kenya, basically means you have developed the whole of Kenya. One of the things that has affected this group, Your Excellency, is the issue of livestock marketing. During the colonial time, we used to have an organized livestock marketing routes. We used to have cattle migration routes. We used to have holding grounds, and KMC used to function. Your Excellency, the other day when you were in Baringo, I watched something. One of the colleagues said here, cattle rustling started after 1974. The question is, why was cattle rustling not there during the colonial time, and why is it rampant? Your Excellency, one of the things that has exacerbated and increased cattle rustling, which is actually the talk all over, is because of lack of livestock marketing. Your Excellency, the camel herder in my constituency has only one source of market, that is Ethiopia and Djibouti. And therefore, what has flourished right now are commercial cattle rustlers who benefit from that particular market. What they do is they steal from here, take them across the border, export them or sell them to the other parts. Your Excellency, one of the things that will be bleeding with you, and I know you will give us an opportunity to plan, is how to have a number of abattoirs in some of these counties, so that the cattle owner, the camel owner, the sheep owner can find, like now Wajir, Your Excellency, we have the second largest airport. Wajir can supply actually meat to the whole world. What it requires is a functioning abattoir. Your Excellency, the other bit which has affected, of course, the issue of climate change is something that affects everybody. The other bit that has affected is the issue of perennial drought. Your Excellency, one of the things that you have been to a number of countries, a country like Spain is almost as, is a desert. A country like Saudi Arabia, Israel, Jordan, and many other countries. What they have done is, and I hope that policy that we have announced the other day will be implemented, is to harvest rainwaters, actually from the torrential waters. If that is done, it can either be in the form of ponds or dams. Some of these things, the issue of food security will not be a problem. Your Excellency, we as a community, and I've used the word we are disorganized, because if every now and then we have problems in our backyard, and we invite for your attention, we invite you to come and solve, it is the high time that we as the leadership, we own and say and pronounce ourselves that we have challenges in our backyards, challenges that never used to be there during the colonial time, and say never again will this be used as an impediment by the policy planners, by the government, because every time when a minister comes, it's insecurity. This clan has clashed with this. This group has stolen from this. I think it's also we need to make that commitment that we need to get rid of this from our backyards. Equally, Your Excellency, this is a political country. I remember one time in 1999 we went with you for a program called the Visitors Program, and one of the states in America that we visited was Utah, the Salt Lake City. And there was a demonstration, I don't know whether you remember, by members of the Mormon Church and the county officials. They wanted to demonstrate how it's a desert, complete desert, how conventional rain or artificial rain has been used in that particular part of the world, and Utah now is one of the most developed. Your Excellency, if we borrow those examples, coupled with what happens in Israel and these other countries, I feel that within the next 10 years, inshallah, this region that has complained of lack of development, lack of appreciation, will see a facelift. Equally, because results are also devolved, it's high time that we also as the leadership go back to our respective areas and also properly utilize what we have. Your Excellency, on behalf of this group, we want to plead with you to operationalize the Equalization Fund. The Equalization Fund is a constitutional issue. I know this has been a topical issue. It has not been implemented. We want to plead with you under your leadership. The money it must be somewhere. I'm sure it must be one of the issues that you'll discover very soon, how it was used and how it was not used. If it is still intact and the timeline is running, we want to plead with you to operationalize that particular facility so that these brothers and sisters of yours from these disadvantaged regions can also benefit and get development that will take them at par with other regions. Finally, Your Excellency, this is a political country. We as Muslims, we believe in something called predestination. God plans everything. It's by the grace of God that you are the President of the Republic of Kenya, the 5th President. This reality must dawn on everybody. Those who have not accepted this, I think are living in their own world. And you will be fighting God. And therefore, we want to ask you, we want to request you, as you have always done, and you know this group has always been abused because of different reasons. We shall never accept that particular scenario. Our government is this. This is the 5th President. This is the President the people of Kenya have chosen. This is the will of God. And therefore, any other imagination at this stage, you will be fighting your own maker. And you know you can't fight your own maker. So let's accept. In Parliament, I can assure you, and I speak here as the longest serving member of Parliament, policies that add value to our people. regardless of what somebody else thinks, will always be on our fingertips, and we will support it. And you know, we fear nobody, we only fear Allah. So we will support, and that is our desire. And for you, when you plan, and I'm sure you're already planning, because some of the things that I'm seeing in the policy dispensations, hoping that some of the Mandarins who have been derailing this will not have their way in derailing this in terms of policy discrimination. I'm sure in the next few years, the entire region, the entire country will see development in different phases, and I hope and pray that we'll have peace, we'll have good health, and we'll have that unity of purpose that will hold our country together, because elections come and go, but Kenya as an entity will remain. And I want to conclude by saying this. God had a purpose. When, in the making of the nation state of the Republic of Kenya, when God brought together 43 different nations with different dialects, with different cultures, to constitute one entity called the Sovereign Republic of Kenya. And that is where today, proudly, under our president, under the flag, and our currency, we have one united country. And therefore, I want to appeal to you, let's support the government of the day, let's support the good policies, let's ask for development, and I hope at the end of this meeting, Your Excellency, we'll be coming up with a document that we'll be presenting to you as our roadmap, so that as you plan, the different ministries will also have this. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for the opportunity and for the time.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Daktari kutoka Elders. Nafasi hii Mheshimiwa Rais nitamwalika mwenyekiti wa FCDC, Gavana Mheshimiwa Mahmud Ali, naye aweze kuzungumza.
Your Excellency, the President of Republic of Kenya, the Cabinet Secretaries present here today, governors present here today, my colleagues, honorable members of the Senate, honorable members of Parliament, leadership of PPG, all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, it gives me great pleasure to make this remark in your distinguished presence. And we are not only excited the President is here, but the President we are interacting with today is also the chief hustler and a fellow pastoralist. So, Your Excellency, we are quite at home talking to you, because pastoralists are the biggest hustlers in the country. Yeah? So, Your Excellency, allow me to congratulate the honorable members who are seated here. They have come from very rigorous election. And this PPG, the history has already been given. It means a lot. As a chair of FCDC, and as you very well know, FCDC is a group of 10 counties, exclusively pastoralist counties, and you know that very well, Your Excellency. And because of that, I fit quite well in this gathering. Matters pastoralism, we don't have to belabor a lot, because being a pastoralist yourself, Your Excellency, you know the challenges that we face. And because you have interacted with every corner of this nation, and God has granted you this opportunity, all we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is to support the President and help him model or come up with some models how to reverse the serious situation or the plight of the pastoral communities in the country. Your Excellency, as you know, historical marginalization has contributed to this group of the nation to lag behind for many, many years. The successive regimes in this country has not contributed to any meaningful or much or good policies, if at all, to support the pastoralist communities. But during the 2010 Constitution, and Your Excellency, you participated in that. I remember very well we were in 10th Parliament together with you. The robust contribution or documentation in the Constitution provided avenues through which pastoral communities can speed up development and catch up with the rest of the country. An example is where we set in the Constitution the Equalization Fund. At that time, we envisaged, after 20 years, with proper implementation of that Equalization Fund, then the Equalization Fund will be scrapped because the counties in this marginal part of the country, marginal areas, will have caught up with the rest of the counties. Unfortunately, to date, Your Excellency, that has not been made operational. I am confident under your leadership, Equalization Fund will be made operational and that development in this part of the country will be able to be fast-tracked. I want to also thank you when we brought to your attention the serious challenges due to drought in these marginal counties. You took the matter head-on and spearheaded campaign and organized yourself and your team to support our counties to face that big challenge. Your Excellency, we got a lot of support, got a lot of food from your government. Unfortunately, the situation is still very serious, and that support is still needed until we get meaningful rainfall, whereby our people will be back on track to carry on with their normal duties. I also want to acknowledge the fact that you pronounced that you will spearhead campaigns to do large dams, and in these marginalized areas also. We shall support you. We will be with you. We will pray for you so that you realize those dreams. Nothing less than a Marshall Plan will reverse the serious situation that these pastoral communities face. But to our colleagues, honorable members, part of the problem of our marginalization is to do with ourselves. Your Excellency, if you ask some of our colleagues, what is the biggest problem that you face in these areas? I will not be surprised you will get some answers ranging from the problem is the county neighboring us, the problem is so-and-so, the problem is that governor. Instead of, appreciating the climatic changes that we have, global phenomenon, and the difficult situation that we have been in historically. So we need to organize ourselves. We need to plan ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. We need to be united. We need to speak in one voice so that we can be able to articulate our issues. Finally, Your Excellency, politics comes and goes. We had a very rigorous election, and what happened, happens. And, there's nobody who knows better than you in this room what exactly happened. That is behind us. I want to pledge here in front of all this gathering here. Pastoral communities are very conformist. They respect system. And that is probably why their son did not get as much support probably in some quarters. I want to assure you, going forward, our team will all align to William Ruto and they will support your government. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. God bless.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Gavana, mwenyekiti wa FCDC. Nafasi hii Mheshimiwa Rais, nitamwalika waziri wetu wa usalama Mheshimiwa Aden Duale ambaye alikuwa mwenyekiti. Kisha ni muombe akimaliza kuzungumza amwalike mwenyekiti anaingia aweze kuendelea. Karibu waziri.
Your Excellency, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, distinguished members of Parliament, both from the National Assembly and Senate. Your Excellency, before I continue, let me give my sister, the Minister for Environment and Forestry, just to say, she has a big speech, but I told her from your instruction, she looks for her own meeting. Even me, I left my speech. So this meeting belongs to PPG and belongs to the President. So 2 minutes.
Me and you will look for our own meeting, a public baraza somewhere. Your Excellency, the President, fellow Cabinet Secretaries, honorable members of PPG, the PPG leadership, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, I'm very happy and delighted to be speaking in this forum. One, because I'm an immediate former member of this caucus, the largest there is in Parliament, and I'm a proud former member of this caucus. At this point, I will also want to register the apologies of my colleague, the CS Rebecca Miano, under whose docket the assaults fall. She is out of the country on official duties. And also to thank the Women Caucus of PPG. Your Excellency, when you appointed us, before we even went for vetting, they actually invited us for breakfast. Honorable Duale, myself, and Honorable Murkomen to congratulate us. And these are things only women can think about. So we are still waiting for the men caucus to invite us. And Your Excellency, they might not have said it, but they were very happy and grateful to you because particularly for me, being the first ever Maasai woman cabinet secretary is of significance, and only you made it happen. And also maybe the first or second pastoralist, CS, I think second woman. Your Excellency, I'll be very brief. As the CS under whose docket the whole climate discourse falls, I would like to start off by saying that we all know that we are in a critical point in time as a globe, and various scientific reports have been made. And even without the scientific reports, we know that the world is heading to a catastrophe if we don't deal on the issue of emission reduction. And Your Excellency, honorable members, targets have been made from the global space on what we need to do to reduce emissions. But from the just concluded COP27, one of the major debates that would have led us towards some milestones, and this is the debate about the phasing out of fossil fuels, that was lost in COP27, and therefore we are still on a bad trajectory. Several reports have also been made, including by UNEP and various UN bodies, around the issues of adaptation. We have problems with funding. There is a big financing gap, and a lot of money is required to go towards adaptation. It is no-brainer that the whole debate about who makes the most contributions towards global warming is out there. Your Excellency, of course, the developed nations are contributing the most, but we on this other end are suffering the harshest brunt. And for our pastoralist communities, we are again disproportionately affected. And this calls for very urgent action, both from an individual level, at government level, and at the global level. Your Excellency, as you would know, the operationalization and debate around loss and damage, which again, the pastoralist communities are the most affected by the global trends, global climate trends. At least we have some white smoke around the development of a loss and damage fund, but again, there's a lot of vagueness from the development, from the developed nations who are supposed to contribute to this financing. From where I sit at the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, again in step with the members of the globe, we are making our best. We are doing our best to make sure that we come up with our own nationally determined contributions of targets to reduce emissions, which now we are saying that by 2030, we need to reduce our emissions by 32% as a country. We have passed several policy and institutional frameworks are in place. And as members of parliament, we are going to work closely together in areas where we may need the intervention of parliament to actualize the direction that we need to take. I have said that it is clear that the ASAL counties are the most affected, and the droughts and the floods demonstrate the same. The frequency of droughts, this group here cannot be lectured on the effects of droughts and floods because we are living with them every day. Your Excellency, I just wanted to say that despite the global action that is being taken around climate change, from our own space as a country, we have the initiative to grow 15 billion trees, and this falls under my ministry, and this aims to increase the tree cover from where we stand now at 12.13% to 30%. And this group here holds the biggest opportunity because this is where we find a lot of space. We have the support of Kenya Forestry Research Institute, where we are putting in a lot of effort at research. We will do species matching to make sure that as we go around the country doing tree growing, we shall bring to your doorsteps the species that we know will thrive in the ASAL, arid and semi-arid lands, but we need your support because when we say that we are lacking in adaptation financing from developed countries, we have what it takes in our hands. And this is the nature-based solutions. And one of them is what the direction through which His Excellency the President is taking us to make sure that we create carbon sinks within our counties, within our constituencies, to make sure that we are doing our bit with what we are able to do. This initiative will take a whole government and whole society approach, and we are targeting to rehabilitate 10.6 million hectares, most of which are found within the arid and semi-arid lands. Your Excellency, in terms of climate financing, with what we are able to work on, the government and partners through the financing locally led climate action, the FLOCA, managed by the National Treasury, ensures that climate finance reaches the lowest levels of administration, and it also gives opportunities for communities to decide on their priorities for climate action. Your Excellency, as you would be aware, the FLOCA funds are still held up at the Treasury level. We need to unlock them, and we will need the support of the Senate and the National Assembly to do that as a matter of priority. Honorable Duale is harassing me here to make sure, but allow me, Your Excellency, to talk about the carbon markets. The initiative by His Excellency the President on planting 15 billion trees is targeted to mobilize, to create carbon sinks for within our locality as a country. And the carbon markets approach should be of interest to this group because it will incentivize the landowners to restore and conserve degraded ecosystems. And I would urge this team of PPG to work closely with the Northern Rangeland Trust, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, and also to visit and look into Kasigau Carbon Project, the Chulu Hills, and Mikoko Pamoja projects. And these are projects that are successfully undertaking carbon markets and carbon trading. And I think this is the way we need to go. And from our end, again, we will be working on policies and regulations to actualize and operationalize the carbon market. But we already have some projects that are ongoing and successful. We need to look into those so that we can replicate as we work towards, greening Kenya. We should also have benefits accruing to the communities. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And I finish it there.
Thank you, Minister Soipan. Your Excellency, let me just ask my colleague, another pastoralist, the Minister for Roads and Transport, Senator Murkomen is here, and there are a number of other colleagues. Your Excellency, help me. I was supposed to give my exit speech, and I love giving exit speech, me and Murkomen, but today is not the day I give my exit speech as I leave the patron of the PPG, which I was the last 5 years. Let me recognize our former speaker, Speaker Ekwe Thuro Emeritus. He's here. We have our former Minister, Mohamed Elmi. We have one of the big founders of this organization, Dr. Wako, former Isiolo North Member of Parliament. We have great other leaders from the pastoralists, us outside our members of Parliament. We have senior members, Your Excellency. This 13th Parliament, we have some senior pastoral leaders who have come back. The Honorable former Minister for Interior, the Honorable Julius Nkuli, is in the House. Our former Deputy Speaker in the 90s, who are the founders of this organization. And of course, the development partners who have stood and supported the PPG. You're all welcome. Your Excellency, we are because I'm still the patron until they elect somebody tomorrow. So Kamket, I'm sure he's positioning himself. I don't know whether he has lobbied. Your Excellency, this is the largest caucus in the Kenyan Parliament. But their numbers don't count. And they will listen to me because they are new members. I want them to hear. We have the numbers. We have the largest caucus. But when shares are declared on the floor of the House, our shares cannot even fetch us anything at the Nairobi Stock Exchange. And I'll give you examples. Your Excellency, we had the animal called BBI. Those who are with me in the last Parliament. The whole animal called BBI was anti-pastoralist. It was reducing our resource allocation. Am I right, colleagues? Mandera was losing, Marsabit was losing, Wajir was losing, Garissa was losing, Tana River and Isiolo, which barely has little money, 4.8 billion, was losing. We were losing in that BBI in terms of even constituencies. 70 constituencies were being shared, and I think what was being given to the big percentage of the pastoral areas was less than 0.1%. But what did we do? We just said, Mr. Speaker, sir, I vote yes. That's what we said. apart from very few of us. The issue of the resource sharing at the Senate came, and Senator Murkomen is sitting here. The greatest defenders of the pastoralist, because that resource sharing formula was basically again reducing the equitable share of the pastoralist counties. The biggest defenders who came to support pastoralists were not the pastoralists themselves. There were people who in their counties, they were getting more resources. Wasingishu was getting more. Nandi was getting more. West Pokot was getting more. Nairobi was getting more. But the people who are in the forefront, to say again, say, Mr. Speaker, I say yes for this report to reduce our equitable share, were the pastoralists. And I'm talking as a former leader of majority. There are many things that happened. And you can use me and a few others, like Colonel Raso, as a classical example. We said no, and nothing happened to us. Today we are alive. You know, people were intimidated. People did everything. But we said no. Senator of Samburu was arrested. He was put on a Land Rover from here all the way to Samburu, to Marlal, arranged in court. He came back. He still said no. And today he's a senator for Samburu. What am I saying? When the chiefs are down, and you are on that premium floor of the house, good people, my people, good Kenyans, as you support government agenda, as you support the national agenda of the people of Kenya, you must say this particular agenda, it's not in tandem with the people I represent. I'll give you a good example. Our colleagues from Rift Valley, from Mount Kenya, they introduced something which was called something minimum returns. What was it, Murkomen? Guaranteed minimum returns. That at whatever price the farmer, whether he's a dairy farmer, tea farmer, coffee farmer, maize farmer, sugarcane farmer, there must be a guaranteed minimum return. We were in that house, we never asked for a guaranteed minimum return on our milk, camel milk, and on our meat. We just listen when people were. So, in my opinion, because I'm still a leader, in my opinion, we must, I think after tomorrow, we must have a conversation, a very candid conversation. Why is our area the most insecure part of Kenya? That conversation, we have a role to play. Why is Lefe insecure? Why is North Horn insecure? Why is Turkana South insecure? Why is our sister Lesuda elected twice crying every day on TV? As we wait for government, we are leaders, we must be part and parcel of the conversation to bring peace, stability, and security to that. Your Excellency, I want to thank you. When even donors came out to build the road from Garbatula all the way to Mbadogash, to Habaswein, to Samatar, to Mandera, and you did a lot of consultation meetings. Part of the frustration the state was doing to you, you were even told, ministers and PSS were told, don't go to the office of the deputy president. They were sending clerks. Reach a stage where they even stopped sending clerks. We are very mature under your leadership, Your Excellency, and with the Murkomen as the minister for roads. At least the road from Garbatula all the way to Mandera will be complete. Your Excellency, as these leaders sit here, 3/4 of, in fact 70% of the schools in these areas are closed. They have no teachers. In fact, like in Northeastern, I think the students that were only in Garissa, Wajir, Mandera, Isiolo, and Marsabit town. You go to the rural constituencies, schools have been closed 5 years ago. That conversation, we must decide. We must sit down. And I really want, after the end of this two-day session, you bring a blueprint document, of the 3-5 key issues that you want the president to address. Your Excellency, because this is your third meeting this morning, I don't want to take a lot of time. Just finally to say, we are pastoralists. And when we are not static, so we don't stay in a place. Our homesteads are, they are not permanent because of our nature of movement. So before you move, you always send somebody to go and find a good place for the animals and for the community. A place free of insecurity, a place with water, a place with no diseases. So some of my colleagues, they went one direction with the intention to make sure the community gets water, pasture, secure place. Some of us, we also went with you to make sure the community gets the necessary facilities like water, pasture. So our colleagues went to a place which was very inhabitable. A place where there was, insecurity, a place where there was no grass, a place where there was no water. But those of us who went with you, and you as a pastoralist number one, Your Excellency, we found a very good place. And these leaders are here because as now election is over, we want development. And please, IBC is very critical. IBC is very critical in these 5 years because the delimitation of the boundaries will be done. And you cannot have those Cherera 4, if you ask me. You need to remove Cherera 4 and have a very clean commission. You have the votes to do that on Thursday. And if you want me to come, I will come to Parliament because I'm a former leader of emeritus to give you direction. We must have one of our own in that commission that will help the president and all of us make sure that that commission does. We can't have a section of a commission that works at the whims of individual. We want a commission that will work as per the Constitution. So this 5 years is very important. It's going to be delimitation of boundaries, wards, constituencies. We must preserve. You people, you know how even our census was suppressed. You know that. Your Excellency, we have a constituency where we are told it is 30,000. If you add all the children who go to school in that constituency, there are 45,000. And we are told that constituency has a population of 30,000. But I think we have become victims because sisi wenyewe hatujipangi. So these 5 years, the good people, and I think this time we have got good leaders who will stand with the people. Your Excellency, finally, I want you to forgive us on behalf of the leadership. You know, your signature and your footprint is found in the pastoralist. And I'll tell you, the first people pastoralists to be nominated, talk about Sophia Abdi, talk about Sahara Korere, talk about Abdinur, talk about, even today, talk about Fatuma Dulo. All the pastoralists who have been nominated, the numbers are high. It's because of the leadership. He has never nominated anybody from Wasingishu or his relative. And the people were saying they are going to start a demonstration. They brought you the names of their sons and daughters to Parliament. You voted for the son of Kalonzo Musyoka. We voted for the son of the daughter of Raila Odinga. And now he has the guts to tell us that he will ask the children of the pastoralist to demonstrate in Abaswain, Mheshimiwa Ado. You are not consulted when he was bringing his daughter. So I think it's about interest. So, Your Excellency, I want you to forgive us. You are a pastoralist. kidogo hatukupatia kura mingi, lakini wanasema ati hata kama hatukumpatia kura mingi, huyu ni wetu. So we are entitled to the benefits. So Your Excellency, I want to stand here today. Forgive us. Hatukuwa na ubaya. So wacha nimuite chairman. Tunakubali tumwambie kiongozi wetu. Next time I think tutabadilisha mwenendo. Mheshimiwa Bashir, tafadhali.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And I know this is PPG, lakini you know the executive yako wengi ni wa PPG. So they took most of the time, but we forgive them. There's no problem. They are part of us. And Your Excellency, the Cabinet Secretary is present, FCDC governors, chairpersons, and CEOs of state corporations, our development partners, senior elders. And Your Excellency, let me take this opportunity to welcome you to the 13th Parliament, the Pastoralist Parliamentary Group Members Induction Workshop, started today and tomorrow at KICC. Your Excellency, honorable members, the objective of this workshop is to provide orientation of our newly elected and nominated members so they can appreciate the importance of the PPG platform and understand the PPG strategic goals. At the end of this two-day workshop, Your Excellency, our new members will elect the new PPG leadership for the next 5 years that will steer matters pertaining to pastoralists, especially on the issue of legislature. Your Excellency, the Pastoralist Parliamentary Group is 24 years old since it was established. And I'm sure, as Honorable Duale has mentioned, the founder members are sitting here right in front of us. PPG now is the largest recognized parliamentary caucus in the National Assembly. Its membership is open to all elected and nominated members of parliament from 15 counties. This term, Your Excellency, the 13th Parliament PPG will focus on high-impact priority areas. Among them is issue of peace and security. And I'm sure this, working with the national government, this we want to ensure that it's realized. Your Excellency, the other issue is about resilience and improving community livelihoods, reduce drought, damage and losses. Of course, issue of education and especially the nomadic education is equally very important. Your Excellency, for the last two parliamentary terms, that is 11th and 12th Parliament, PPG had worked hard to have a legal framework of establishing the Livestock Market Authority. It is still unfinished business. In the pastoral areas, the livestock sector provides employment, food security, and over 90% of family incomes for the people in the drylands. Another area of importance to PPG this time is the security of the community land. Despite Parliament passing the Community Land Act in 2016, no single inch of the former trust land has been registered for the community. Communal land is the most important factor of livestock production in pastoral areas. And we request through your administration that this issue is fast-tracked. Your Excellency, this is not the time to outline our PPG full list, as has been mentioned by our outgoing patron. As we finish tomorrow, we will come up with a blueprint. We will have a 2 days retreat thereafter to work on it, and I'm sure that time we'll present through the respective line cabinet secretaries so that your administration can also focus in the next 5 years. As the members of the PPG caucus, we have committed to making individual financial contributions from our salaries to support PPG, and I'm sure this has to go down very well with everybody to support the PPG plans. And equally as important, we ask your administration, development partners and NGOs who have supported us before to support the plans. In that spirit, we request your line ministries to work with the PPG so that this matter is realized. As a starting point, we would like to sit down with your new CSS, especially from key ministries of ASAL, Interior, Agriculture, Livestock, Environment, Land and Tourism, in the next 2-3 days when we plan properly in a retreat to develop a workable plan and develop a development agenda for the pastoral areas. Your Excellency, our people have lost more than 2.5 million livestock to the ongoing drought, according to modest estimates by the NDMA. We need to have a candid conversation regarding regional health to sustain the livestock numbers, its use and management of the regionals in long-term plan. It cannot be business as usual. As pastoralists, we need to think outside the box. It can't only be left only to the governments or donors. At the same time, we want the people to think the highest emissions that are causing damages and losses to our people in the region and to take responsibility. We are pleased that the world has acknowledged the link between climate change and drought as our people continue to bear the biggest chunk while we contribute very little to global warming. Your Excellency, we appreciate the leadership at the just concluded COP27 and Kenya's push for adequate compensation for the climate change loss and damage. We hope the loss and damage fund that was agreed upon at the end of the conference will be actualized soon. We thank you for your initial response to the drought stress situation. We know your administration has come in late when the situation is already beyond the alarm stage. We thank you for establishing the National Steering Committee on Drought Response and appointing eminent persons to spearhead this work. We believe it will help the bridge the response gap. Your Excellency, the Vision 2030 strategy for development of northern Kenya and other arid lands, for instance, identifies priority and appropriate investments that will unlock the potential of the region. The ASAL policy, on the other hand, reinforces how to actualize the constitutional provisions of removing inequality and marginalization. It also recognizes the value of pastoralism and emphasizes the ASAL region's potential to contribute to national development. We equally appreciate that you put together a detailed program for the transformation of the frontier counties. We look forward as members of parliament to working with you and your administration to support the delivery of this plan. We would like to see that your administration gives the implementation of ASAL policy a priority push for full implementation. You have done it before while you were a deputy president. Now you are the head of state. I'm sure you will do it better. For example, the establishment of a stronger institutional framework for multi-sectoral and multi-stakeholder ASAL development. It is only NDMA and the National Drought Emergency Fund that seem to be working and running. Your Excellency, even with that, NDMA continues to operate with serious resource gaps, and it's our hope and prayer that funding to NDMA, because it covers all the 23 ASAL counties, both it is the staff and secretariat. So we wish that NDMA actually is fully resourced so that it can also partake in supporting the pastoralists. Your Excellency, we request that you lead the revamping of the Indian Drought Emergencies, EDE, strategy as the vehicle for medium and long-term resilience building to drought. We are prepared to work with you to ensure the government mobilizes and marshals adequate resources towards the emphasized sustainable development activities and actualize the goal of EDE in Kenya as the focal point for IGAD. We assure you of our commitment to working with the administration to realize the vision espoused in your bottom-up approach. Under your leadership, we can change the perception of the ASALs as net consumers of national wealth and return on investment to a frontier of immense untapped opportunities. As people say, they think that the pastoral areas is open spaces. They are not open spaces. They are spaces that are full of potentials. With these many remarks, it's my pleasure, Your Excellency, to invite you to address the PPG members and officially open the 13th Parliament PPG for the next 2 days. Your Excellency, welcome.
Asante sana Bwana Chairman. Tafadhali tuketi chini. Asanteni sana. Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies, members of parliament, governors, senators, good afternoon. Is it good evening? I'm Jambo. First, let me thank all of you for finding time so that we can share these moments together. I know we have speakers in our midst. The chair of the parliamentary group, my good brother from Wajir North, from Mandera North, the honorable members of the pastoralist parliamentary group, and I agree that this is the largest caucus in the Parliament of Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, I am truly happy to be here with you today so that we can open the 13th Parliament's induction workshop for members of this great group. I take this opportunity to congratulate all of you on winning your constituencies and county seats and the confidence your people have demonstrated in your leadership, and I hope that you will take the privilege of leadership and serve with diligence. I consider the PPG an illustrious organization dedicated to the noble task of achieving critical constitutional values and principles of governance by mainstreaming the agenda of constituencies, communities, counties, and sectors that were previously marginalized, through formulating policies and strategies to redress the inequality and suffering resulting from this neglect. The PPG ensures that Kenya lives up to its promise to become an inclusive society. It therefore exists, that is PPG, to hold Kenya to its word, that it would be guided by the principle of devolution, sharing of power, and sharing of resources. The group began agitating for the actualization of this promise long before it was codified in our Constitution, and its principal commitments are the reason why I have been proudly associated with its vision from my early days as a newly elected member of Parliament in 1998. That's quite a while now, I guess. After the last election, I wasn't too sure whether I should continue to be a proud member. Kwa sababu wengi wenu mliniwacha kwa mataa. It is essential to state at this point that I have never subscribed to the disastrously mistaken notion that the pastoralist regions, which are principally arid and semi-arid, have been low potential areas. Neither do I support policies which deny these regions development on these or other grounds because there are no lesser or greater Kenyans. We are all equal. I wish to state that we have made tremendous progress in articulating the immense potential of the pastoral ASAL rangelands, which has resulted in new affirmative perspectives in the national policy making and development leadership. ASALs, which cover nearly 70% of Kenya's landmass, house tremendous wealth and store immense resources which can inject impetus to our transformational race on an unprecedented scale. To access and exploit this potential, we now recognize that three distinct sets of interventions are necessary and call for urgent and effective action. First of all, climate change. Recurrent drought and adverse climatic conditions make Kenya's pastoral rangelands vulnerable to devastating disruptions and suffering. Starvation of people and the loss of animals form part of the catalogue of harrowing tragedies that are familiar occurrences in this region. We've just heard that in this drought, we have lost 2.5 million heads of livestock, estimated at 150 billion Kenyan shillings. That is phenomenal by any count. Secondly, insecurity and violent conflicts are notorious events in pastoral rangelands, driven by cultural incentives, organized crime, ethnic misunderstanding, competition for scarce pastures and water resources, and land ownership disputes. During drought, these threats intensify, causing unbearable suffering. Thirdly, a hostile official stance since independence and formalized in a policy promulgated 4 years after independence, designating ASALs as low potential areas, institutionalized the official marginalization of these regions with iniquitous and unacceptable consequences. The provision of public goods ranged between inadequate, intermittent, and altogether sometimes non-existent. As a result, human welfare stagnated as the rest of the country registered steady improvements in health, nutrition, education, income, and other outcomes. Insecurity and climatic adversity compounded the vulnerabilities resulting from meager public goods. The combination of these drivers of vulnerability have been devastating, and its effects reverberate even now in the second decade of the 21st century. We have a moral and constitutional obligation to take all necessary measures to significantly mitigate pastoral vulnerability and enhance the place of ourselves as the locus of tremendous developmental potential. It is not possible for us to discuss the development of Kenya if we are not discussing the development of 70% of Kenya. It is not realistic. We must press on with great determination in advancing our agenda to unlock the full potential of other areas, especially through our Northern Frontier counties transformation strategies. I tried to have a conversation with the Northern Frontier counties before the last election, but it was not possible because of the complications of the elections that time. The time has come for us to develop a robust framework of collaboration that will establish lasting peace and security throughout our pastoral rangelands. This will enable us partner effectively in denying Al-Shabaab a catchment area for recruitment of lawless territory to operate from, eradicating livestock thefts, and ending senseless inter-ethnic violence. We must also deal with the root causes that sustain trafficking in illegal small arms and remove all illegal firearms from the wrong hands. I agree with you that we must disarm all people who have illegal arms in their hands. And to achieve this, we must mobilize relentlessly and deploy all efforts to deliver peace and security. We are determined to bring cattle rustling, banditry, ethnic violence, and other drivers of insecurity to an end. Let me repeat. We are determined to bring cattle rustling, banditry, ethnic violence, and other drivers of insecurity to an end. I take it as an assignment. And to do this, we shall take necessary measures with firmness and resolve. I hope none of you is going to put a telephone call to me. I hope nobody is going to send me WhatsApp, not even on Signal, to try and mitigate what the government is going to do. I urge you as leaders to do your part. History has assigned this purpose to us, and we must each commit to do our part. I can see you are silent because I think there are some amongst us who are not committed. Good people. These are our people. This is our electorate. These are the people who have elected us. And I want to encourage honorable members to play your role effectively, including through vigorous oversight, peace building, sensitization and public awareness campaigns, as well as initiatives to demonstrate the advantages of inter-ethnic harmony and collaboration. Many of us cannot stand on podia to talk against cattle rustling. Any leader who cannot stand and tell his people to stop stealing cattle is not worth any straw of leadership. And we must say the things we say during the day, we must also say the same things at night. Some of the measures we have instituted to deliver peace and security includes training and arming more reservists and deploying more personnel from our disciplined forces. There are additional steps we are going to take to make sure that for the first time we put this menace behind us. I urge members to support and complement these efforts. This induction workshop takes place when we are in the throes of a devastating drought whose severity has not been experienced in 40 years and whose reverberations continue to shock our economy. The ASAL regions have borne the brunt of this calamity, and our pastoral communities have suffered unbearable losses in lives and livelihoods. This drought underscored the deadly emergence of the three principal drivers of ASAL vulnerability and underdevelopment. It is time to engage in sustainable and inclusive mitigation and resilience building mechanisms and to invest resources, especially allocations from the Equalization Fund, to undertake appropriate projects on a large scale throughout our pastoral rangelands. To date, the fund has disbursed a total of 10.3 billion to ministries, implementing 352 identified projects in 14 marginalized counties. The Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill 2022, amounting to 13.9 billion, has meanwhile been forwarded to Parliament by my administration. Many of these key interventions will require your commitment and your committed support. We have established drought risk management as a high priority intervention to be undertaken throughout a dedicated and specialized organization. The National Drought Management Authority's principal mandate will be to provide a platform for long-term planning and an adequate framework to guide necessary interventions. It will also provide a platform for effective coordination across government and among all stakeholders. The government is committed to empowering the authority, especially by strengthening the drought early warning system and making it responsive by linking it to anticipatory and remedial actions to cushion lives and livelihoods before drought intensifies. In the first decade of the devolution era, 15 PPG counties have jointly received more than R1 trillion shillings, yet remain immensely vulnerable to drought. I urge county governments to collaborate more effectively with national government agencies to bring drought emergencies to an end. And as I speak to those of us who are sitting here, I have to say this, that we must stop electing leaders on the basis of their ethnicity or clans. Let me repeat. I have said this before, I will say it again. We must stop, as pastoralists, electing leaders on the basis of clans. Let us elect leaders on the basis of their ability, their vision, and their agenda. Seriously, anybody will not be able to identify $1 trillion shillings that has been spent in our counties. Part of the marginalization in the Athol counties is by ourselves. If we elect people whose only loyalty is to their clan and their kinsmen, they will use all the money to satisfy their clans, their kinsmen, their relatives. The rest of the counties and people in counties end up suffering. I have been an ardent supporter of the sharing of resources that goes to counties, especially in the arid and semi-arid areas. But I am beginning to ask myself whether this is a viable enterprise anymore. If we cannot justify the amount of money we are spending in our Athol counties because it is being abused and misused and stolen, then it becomes very difficult to continue justifying why we are pushing these resources to these counties. Again, let me say this without fear of any contradiction, and I have said to my good brothers and sisters who are pastoralists, let us stop electing people on the basis of their clans. Let us elect people on the basis of their ability, their agenda, and their vision. Unless and until we do that, we will continue to marginalize ourselves. And we will continue. No amount of resources is enough for anybody who is being driven by interest other than the vision and the plan they have for their county or their constituency. We have enough positions to elect people. We can elect clan elders, on the basis of clans and clan chiefs and clan chieftains and whatever. But surely, if we must stop this nonsense. I must say this. Once upon a time, and let me say this just for the record and for whatever it's worth in terms of history. In Mandera County in 2013, we had elections, and in the subsequent elections, which was done through clan, primaries and things like those. Then in the next election, the clan elders decided that everybody who had been elected, all the 20-something MCAs, all the 6 MPs, women rep, governor, senator, should be removed and replaced by others. And I was wondering, how is this going to happen? And they were very serious, by the way. And I sat down with them and I disagreed with them and I told them, look, this is not right. Yeah? They became my enemies temporarily. But finally, they realized that I was also serious and it was not the right thing to do. I will continue to tell my brothers and sisters who are pastoralists, let us stop the clan primaries. They are destroying our democracy, and they are destroying our counties, and they are destroying our pastoral areas, and we are getting it wrong. Let us elect people on the basis of their ability. I know many people will fault me, but that is unfortunately my position, and I believe that that is the direction we should go. Already, the NDMA is contributing to ameliorating the effects of the ongoing drought by implementing the government's hunger safety net, through which it has disbursed cash transfers to 101,800 households in Turkana, Mandera, Wajir, and Marsabit. The program is now due for expansion to cover an additional 32,000 vulnerable households in Isiolo, Garissa, Tana River, and Samburu. The NDMA has presence in all the 23 ASAL counties and is undertaking its planning through inclusive participatory processes that incorporate ward-level scenarios and strategic components. I urge the honorable members of this PPG to make their contribution to these processes and end drought emergencies in our counties. Drought emergency response has always disrupted government by inflicting counterproductive trade-offs which compel us to rob Peter to pay Paul. To stop this, government has now established the National Drought Emergency Fund, a multi-donor instrument aimed at mobilizing resources and ensuring that at all times, funds are available for drought preparedness, response, and recovery. It is also intended to complement NDMA by linking drought early warning mechanisms to effective early action. We have committed Kenya shillings 2 billion to this fund annually. Since this dedicated standby resource pool is essentially a common basket fund, we invite our development partners to join us in growing it to strengthen our drought emergency capacity. It is now nearly 7 years since the Community Land Act was enacted. Not one parcel of community land has since been registered, and that is not encouraging by any standard. The enormous potential of the pastoral rangelands in our ASAL regions comprises land and its abundant natural resources. Clarification of land rights will also go a long way to prevent conflicts and insecurity arising from contested claims of pasturing and land use claims. It is time to implement the Act, and I am giving you my firm commitment that the registration of trust land in the name of pastoral communities of the region in which it is placed is going to be a priority of my administration. I have been informed and welcome with appreciation your intention to formulate through legislation a natural resource benefit sharing framework. I note that the framework will cover income from tourism and wildlife and mineral resources on community lands. I am particularly appreciative of your dedication and mindfulness in contemplating the novel and innovative rangeland soil carbon project in which Kenya is a global leader. I spoke about this exciting soil carbon model at the COP27 summit recently. I'm also pleased with the exemplary Kenyan project, which is a singular global pioneer and largest in the world, focusing entirely on soil carbon removal through sustainable grazing management. The project, I note, is on course to achieve its inspiring target of removing 50 metric tons of carbon dioxide from the ecosystem over the next 30 years. I want to reiterate to this gathering that significant infrastructural expansion into the northern counties is firmly set to commence. We are committed to opening up the region and connecting it to local, regional, and international markets in order to unlock its dramatic development potential through the efficient movement of goods and services. More specifically, I have instructed the minister, who is also a pastoralist here, that the road from Lamu to Garissa and to Isiolo, which was built as a Maram road, must now be upgraded to a tarmac road. That 500 kilometers of road is necessary to connect the various counties of Lamu, Isiolo, and Garissa. And I have given a date. I will shortly be coming to launch the road from Isiolo, Kulamawe, to Mandera, a 740 kilometers of tarmac road. And with it, 940 kilometers of fiber cable along the road into schools and other administrative centers, including markets. This is a project that I have tried to push the last 5 years. It stalled somewhere midway for political reasons, but I want to assure you that we are going to build that road, and I will personally supervise to make sure that it is done on time. I have also instructed that as we build that road, as part of what we had negotiated with development partners, over 100 billion Kenya shillings for our northern frontier counties, that included the construction of the road, the building of water projects, the connection of electricity, will also include abattoirs, because I have heard some of the interventions you have made or you have requested. We will also include some water projects, including boreholes, as has been mentioned by one of us here. I also want you to know that as part of the program that I have announced in matters dealing with our food security situation in the country, it is now necessary, because of the challenges we have with climate change and the areas we are using for food production, that we now need to move our agriculture under irrigation from 600,000 acres to 3 million acres. Majority of the acreage under irrigation will largely be in our arid and semi-arid areas. As I have said, part of my commitment in water harvesting, as has been said here, is to build the first 100 large dams. This will include the Crocodile Jaw dam in Isiolo. It will include the dam in Wajir, which was done halfway. It will include, that's in Bute. It will include Lowat Dam in Turkana. It will include Radat Dam in Baringo, and many of the others. And we have also set to do 1,000 smaller dams for water harvesting, because water harvesting is going to be a primary mitigation and adaptation mechanism for us to provide water for our livestock and for irrigation. More investment in the generation of low-cost renewable energy and connecting more households to clean and affordable energy is among the key enabling infrastructural interventions that the government of Kenya is committed to undertake over the next 5 years. I also want to bring to your attention our commitment for the creation of a market as well as value addition with regard to our livestock sector. The regeneration of the livestock economy is important, especially in uplifting the poor and vulnerable pastoralist majority, the production of good quality skin, including its recovery from animals that die from causes such as drought and accidents, goes some way to maximize livestock value. Very, very specifically, when we went round the country in our economic forums, the one thing that came out from all the pastoralist counties is the livestock economy. I also want to give you my commitment that because we have the third largest herd of livestock in Africa, we should leverage the biggest benefit from the livestock economy, both in terms of meat and livestock products. You have my commitment in investments in the entire livestock value chain, from the meat and livestock products, and that is part of what we envisage to do in our industrial city in Naivasha. We will work with the abattoirs across the country, but we will work with some of the big leather product manufacturers around the world out of Naivasha, so that we can tap into the green energy resources we have there and be able to market our products as green products. I have therefore directed Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development to take measures to implement the 2016 Executive Order establishing Livestock Development and Marketing Authority without any further delay. We have come a long way to mainstream our pastoral rangelands as the engine of national economic transformation. I acknowledge that expectations are high for very well-known reasons. Let me confirm that we will work hard to exceed those expectations and deliver the transformation of the pastoralist regions and rangeland economy that you keenly anticipate under this administration. That is the purpose of our long-running engagement over the course of the last 3 decades. It is also a matter of fundamental economic and socio-political justice, and I intend to keep my commitment. All I ask you as members of the Pastoralist Parliamentary Group is for all of us to agree that the election season is now behind us. We need to close our ranks, work together for the good of the people of Kenya. I have absolute respect for everybody's choice. You have absolutely no reason to apologize for voting the way you voted, because that is everybody's democratic choice. What now behoves us is that now that the election is behind us, we need to close ranks, we need to work together for the good of the people who elected all of us. I want to take also this opportunity to respectfully ask our friends in the opposition to work with us, hold us to account, criticize our plan, criticize our agenda, but don't drive people to the streets. Don't drive people to conflict and violence. It doesn't serve anybody's interest. I think we need to be clear. Let us have a competition of ideas. Let us have a competition of strategy. Let us not have a competition of conflict. Let us not have a competition of street fights. It doesn't benefit anybody. I want to say with utmost respect that we need time as a country to rebuild our economy. We are now beginning to see signs of the international community coming round and working with us to rebuild our economy so that we can pull our country out of debt. We are beginning to see signs of working with the private sector to deliver on our private-public partnerships so that we can develop, we can develop our program around housing, so that we can develop our program around water harvesting. We are steadfast on ensuring that our police, that had been reduced to being enemies of its own people instead of protecting people, we are finding people in rivers who have been killed by the very police that were supposed to be looking after them. We need time to rebuild our security agencies so that they can serve their mandate as is required of them by the Constitution. Our friends need to realize that we need to rebuild our country, we need to rebuild our economy. They cannot be telling us at this point in time that they want us to go to the streets. They want us to go to conflict. Jameni, mimi nawauliza. Hata ndugu zetu walio pinzani, tunawaheshimu, wako na majukumu ya kikatiba ya kuhakikisha kwamba serikali inafanya ile kazi ambayo tumepatiwa kikatiba. Wao wafanye kazi yao, lakini wawache fujo na wawache maandamano na waache mambo ya conflict kupiganisha wa Kenya. Tunahitaji muda wa kujenga nchi na kujenga uchumi na kurekebisha mahali ambapo pameharibika, na hiyo jukumu inatuhitaji sisi zote kufanya kazi kwa kuelewana kwa pamoja. Kufanya fujo na kutuambia ya kwamba wanataka ati wapange maandamano na fujo, hiyo ni kutubeba ufala ya kilograms nyingi sana. Hiyo haiwezekani. Honestly, I think we really have to be honest with ourselves. The least we need is that kind of action. But if they choose, that is their choice. You know, Kenya will move on. They used threats, intimidation, and blackmail to do whatever they were doing. I think there are fewer people now in Kenya who can take threats, intimidation, and blackmail anymore. Kenya wants to move on. I think threats, blackmail, and intimidation of mass action and the rest of it will not change the course of our destiny. We are firmly on course. And I want to say, for the avoidance of doubt, I have lived through many threats, blackmail, and intimidation. So nobody is going to threaten me or blackmail me to do the things they want. I will do the things the people of Kenya want. Many of my good brothers have already positioned themselves and their families in positions. Let them give me an opportunity to try and secure jobs for the rest of Kenyans who are not members of their families. Tafadhali, please. Tusaidiane. Si ndio? Sasa nyinyi wangwana, si tuheshimiane kidogo. Nyinyi mumepanga mambo yenu, mumepanga mambo ya familia zenu, ndugu zenu, dada zenu, watoto wenu. Alafu mnataka kupeleka watoto ya Wakenya wengine kwa maandamano. Bana. Hiyo ni ufala ya kilograms nyingi sana. Hiyo haiwezekani hiyo. Watupatie nafasi hata na sisi tupange nafasi ya ajira na biashara kwa watoto wa Wakenya wengine ambao sio familia zao ama watoto wao. Let them give us a bit of time. We organize the country. Tumekubaliana, my friends? Na ni kwa heshima tu tunauliza, hakuna hatujalazimisha mtu. Tunaulizana kwa heshima. Tafadhali. With those many remarks, good people, I declare the 13th Parliament's Pastoralist Parliamentary Group Members Induction Workshop officially opened. God bless you and congratulations. Mungu awabariki sana.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Rais. Nitaomba sote sasa tuweze kuwa wima ili tuweze kumaliza sherehe yetu ya leo kwa wimbo wa taifa. Kidogo.
Your Excellency, tuketi kidogo tu. Sorry. Unajua wafugaji hawananga mambo mengi. Your Excellency, thank you very much for the speech, but the members initially had said they wanted to have an interactive session, but because he has answered everything that we requested, everything that we wanted, but I will only give at least 4 members to say something else which has not been covered. But largely, he has spoken about equalization, the 13 billion that will be rolled out, livestock marketing board, the dams, small dams, big dams. I think you have covered. But nevertheless, Eco interaction kidogo tu. Oh, what is the mood? We are okay? Your Excellency, it means we'll cover kila kitu because you are trying to avoid maybe the interaction. But by and large, we are thankful. From here, I think we have to guide. Now you can continue, my friend. And continue now. National landing photograph.
Teachers, we need teachers. That's the only thing left out. Okay. All the teachers have been withdrawn. Our schools have got 1 teacher in 8 classes. I know you will help us with that. Thank you.
Mimi nimesema hawa tafadhali tuketi chini waheshimiwa kidogo. Nakubaliana na nyinyi ya kwamba tuko na matatizo ya walimu. But we made a policy decision which I want to repeat. Part of the problem we have is that most of the teachers in many of our pastoralist areas are Kenyans from other parts of the country. And what happens is whenever there is a small incident, they take off and they go back home. Then the children in northern Kenya are left without any teachers. I know we must rationalize teachers, and I made a commitment that we will hire additional teachers. I think the first 30,000 will be hired next year, early next year. We will make sure that as we hire the 30,000 teachers, we will give a commensurate, allocation to our pastoral areas. But long term, I want the leaders from pastoral areas to identify teachers from pastoral areas to go to college and come and teach the children of those pastoral areas. I took the initiative myself to get almost 100 students to college, and I paid for them from Tana River, for example. But you have CDF. Let us sponsor, and we are going to make a deliberate, affirmative action to ensure that teachers from pastoralist areas get an allocation in all our teachers training colleges. The Ministry of Education has very clear instructions to make sure that we get more teachers trained from pastoralist areas so that they can go back and teach in our primary schools and even in our secondary school in those areas. And when they finish college, we will make sure that they are hired by the Teacher Service Commission. I made this offer before. We got very few people from the pastoralist areas who want to teach, because iko shida mahali fulani, sijui ni nini. You know, msiniambie good people ya kwamba tunaweza kukosa watu ambao wanataka kuwa walimu. Because anybody in our pastoral areas akiwa na C- ama C something, anaona anaweza kupata kazi kubwa, hataki hii ya while teachers from other areas, even with C+, they still go to teachers college, surely. Good people. Musirudishe nyuma sana watu ya pastoral areas. And you see, the problem with what you're saying, if we take teachers who are of lower education qualification, you will actually be mainstreaming the lowering of education in our arid and semi-arid areas, which long-term works against the interest of arid and semi-arid areas. You must be willing to persuade those people who have good grades to be teachers from arid and semi-arid areas. Tafadhali. You know, and we must all speak to this issue. Otherwise, this problem will not go away. Tunaelewana Lomenen? Bas, asante sana. Vetting na vitambulisho na passport, nafikiri kuna vile tumekubaliana na iko katika manifesto yetu. Tutawaambia vile tutatengeneza so that we make sure that hii maswali mingi inaulizwa tunapunguza, lakini wale watu ambao sio wa Kenya tuwajue na alafu tuwapatie wa Kenya wetu vitambulisho pamoja na mambo ya vetting tupunguze. And we have already Professor Kindiki and Aden Duale are working on the framework which will be shared with you as the representatives of our people in the pastoral areas, so that we can be able to take care of them. In any case, we are now required as a country even to take refugees to be nationals. So if we can take refugees to be nationals, why don't we take our own people and our own children? So I think this is something that we have already taken a policy position on, and shortly we will engage you so that that challenge can be eliminated. Kuna swali lingine? Yes, Kanchori?
Thank you, Your Excellency. One time you talked about tannery.
Oh. Yeah.
Tulete watu wetu kwa malisho mzuri. Your Excellency, umeongea pia mambo ya dams. The first time I was elected in 2015, there was a proposed dam somewhere in Mailwa that was surveyed, everything done, and 100. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kanchori. I agree with you that the whole exercise of leather products is a major issue in all our pastoralist areas. I remember in the conversation we had the people in Kajiado when we came for the economic forum there. Tannery was a very big subject. We will have to rationalize, because even under the NEDI project, we had, I think, 6 tanneries. One in Isiolo, one in West Pokot, one in Wajir, one in Marsabit. I think Governor Mahmoud there knows. So we need to rationalize so that we can create the necessary volumes to support a whole value chain. And narrow can be a consideration. And as we will do in other areas, but we want to centralize the whole leather industry and cotton industry around Naivasha because we have energy at 5 US cents tariff, and we have free steam. It makes the whole process much more cheaper, much more cost-effective, and also we can sell it to the rest of the world as green products coming from green energy. That's the principle we are looking at. But even as we do that, Kanchori, your people don't have to change their political affiliation. This is the government of Kenya. We serve all Kenyans irrespective of how they voted. It really doesn't matter. And on the other subject of dams, I think apart from the 100 big dams, we have another 1,000 dams at a lower category. We will see whether Mailua, and I know very well that was in the works, whether it can be captured. It is captured as part of what we must do. Nafikiri, okay, one more lady.
Thank you, Your Excellency. When you were the Deputy President, you had an amazing initiative, the Ushanga initiative in our counties, and I think it is important that you revive it and we make sure that our women in our counties benefit from it.
It is part of our plan, Mheshimiwa. You remember some resources were allocated to it, and then some other characters went and sabotaged it. I want to give you my commitment that the Ushanga initiative was started in my office, and I want to assure you that we have seen the benefits of the Ushanga initiative. It has improved the quality of the products the women are making. It has revolutionized the way the delivery of the different skills and competencies, and of course put some money in many women who otherwise would have no economic activity. So we will not only escalate it, we will provide additional funds, and I request you to help me mobilize Parliament to make sure that it is passed. Okay? So, thank you very much. Asanteni sana.
Asante sana, nitaomba tusimame wima kwa wimbo wa taifa. Niombe tutakuwa na picha mbili pale nje. Mheshimiwa Rais akinikubalia picha ya PPG members na vile vile PPG officials, tafadhali tukutane pale nje.